Hi everyone, Armoured Pants here, and I have another review for you on the Russian line. This is the Tier 8 Heavy, the KV-4. As always, we will have a look at the tech spec, and we'll use that on blitzhanger.com. Now, before we start, I think this is quite a good heavy tank. Not because there was something particularly brilliant about it, but because it is a really heavy. So if you watch the heavy tank guide that we have here in the channel, how you should play a heavy tank, a quintessential heavy tank, is how you play this. It has all the characteristics that you look for in a heavy tank, plus it has all of the limitations, and we'll go through those as we go through the review. And we're going to have a look at a mastery game in the tank. It's a game we lose, but nonetheless it is a mastery game, and it also shows some of the weaknesses and how games can hinge on certain moments. Now firstly, we're looking at the different gun types, right? So there's a few different gun types. Two 107mm guns and two 122mm guns. Get the top gun ASAP. If you are grinding, get that first. And there's also an added benefit, apart from the extra pen, etc. It has actually decent gun handling, much better than other Russian tier 8 heavies. Now, this 107mm gun, right? So it says that the DPM is higher on the lower tier gun, but that's not true. Why? Because, well, if we remember what we spoke about many times on the channel, there's actual DPM versus theoretical DPM. Theoretical DPM is simply the average damage per shell multiplied by the number of shells fired per minute, when it assumes all shells go through and damage, and as we know, that's not the case. And if you've lower pen numbers and you've got lower muzzle velocity, those shells won't go through. So therefore, actual DPM depends very much on muzzle velocity and penetration. And as you can see here, when we look at the top gun, the tier 9 gun, the 107mm, it has higher pen numbers and it has higher muzzle velocity. The muzzle velocity is considerably higher on this, and when we use supercharged and refined gun as we have it set up here, it is actually quite decent, just under 1300 meters per second. So get that gun and set it up with the supercharge and the refined gun, and you will do very well. The gun handling is quite good on this for a Russian tier 8 heavy. Now, that's the good thing about this tank, and the armor is great, which we're going to look in a second, but one of the key drawbacks is its mobility. It sucks. It is literally like moving a castle around the map. We're looking here at the power to weight ratio, and basically, you know, that means how well does it accelerate, how fast does it go. If it has good power to weight ratio like light tanks, it's going to move quickly. And this, as you can see, has very poor power to weight ratio. It is slow. It is slow when it gets going. It is slow to start. So really, it is not great at all. Typical heavy concealment figures, as you can see, very low. You're going to get spotted up, but that's not a heavy's job. A heavy's job is not to move around the map to spot up the enemy. A heavy's job is to move and to go front line, to occupy strategic parts on the map. And that's what this tank is great at, because it has one asset which really sets it apart from other heavies in its tier, and that is its armor. Look at this. It is troll. Look at these relative armor numbers here on the side. It is just amazing. You're getting 900mm plus on the side when you side scrape. Now, one of the key skills you need with this tank is the ability to side scrape. If you cannot side scrape, you will not do well with this tank. If you can turn games on their head. You can get massive amounts of bounce damage and inflict significant damage on the enemy. If you look here, this is a typical, let's add in the external modules. This is a typical side scraping, well, not that obviously, I'm just checking the gun elevation and depression there. But this is a typical side scraping position on the tank, right? You're coming out at that angle, and you can see the angles on it were just fantastic. On the side, it still has good armor. You will get bounces on the side as well. Even on the back, you will get some bounces. If somebody doesn't take care and take aim carefully, you will get some bounces, particularly from lower caliber guns on light and medium tanks. You can reverse side scrape on this tank too, as you saw there. But the armor numbers in this tank are just amazing, and you will get bounces. You will get bounces that you don't even think you're going to get, or you're not even playing for. It is quite an amazing tank if you angle up that armor correctly. If you don't know how to do that, please watch the heavy tank guide again and the KV-1 guide that we have on channel, because both of those have side scraping tutorials. It explains it very simply. If you want to understand it, it's a very simple step-by-step guide. Now again, looking at his tank, front on armor profile is fantastic even when it's up tiered, but when you are top tier or up against other tier 8s, it is just amazing and you're going to get bounces. So there we have it. This tank is really your quintessential heavy tank. It is to go to strategic points in the map, go front line, seize those positions, but not stupidly, side scrape, get some bounces, and really do your team a favor. Seize those strategic positions. There are strategic positions on every map that need to be seized, usually going down the heavy channel side of the map, anchoring your team there, and with this tank you can really do that to great effect. As I said, even if you're up tiered, when you're side scraping in this thing, you will still get bounces. You saw there, side scraping can get up to 900 millimeters relative armor thickness. Nothing is going to pen that. There isn't a gun in the game that will pen that. So here we go. Anyway, this is Port Bay Supremacy game. As I said, it's a game we lose, but it's a mastery game. I think with over 4.5k of damage and a significant amount of damage blocked. I will talk you through why I lose this game, and I think this is also quite interesting to see, because you know you can't win every game, but when you do lose games, it's always good if you can figure out how you lost it, at what point you lost it. And you'll see a couple of points in this game where the game is actually lost, long before it actually is lost. But even when I was playing, I knew that they were key moments in the game. Now we're already a tank down. I think somebody got ammo rack there. Now I tried to snapshot there, it didn't work. But you'll see the gun handling on this tank is pretty good. And there's a nice shot coming up here. I'm just slow it down so you can have a look at it. Bam! And this is how good this gun can be. Right into the back of the IS-3. And we get a nice hit on him there. Nice alpha roll, almost 300 damage. Really good. He's in our sights again. You can see he has a decent reload, this tank, for a heavy. And there we go. Bam! And he is set on fire. Lovely ass alpha roll. Let's have a look at that again. His ass is on fire. A great shot there. So those two shots, we did a lot of damage onto that IS. And then we're able to let my teammates come in and clear him out. Now, one of the things about this tank is that you have to remember it's very slow moving. It's also kind of boxy. It's really just like a box on tracks. You know, there's nothing sophisticated about it. This is probably why they didn't continue to produce it. It only existed on blueprints. And you can see if you compare it to an IS-3 or something like that, the armor sloping, etc. is way behind in terms of technology. But it is a bit of a beast, and front on, you know, it is just a monster. But it has limitations, and one of those is it's very slow moving. You can see here, just look at how slow that traverse is. You know, so if you're in a brawl situation and you're caught out in the open, you will really suffer. So do not get exposed. This tank is best when it's front on to the enemy, and when it can do a lot of damage and absorb a lot of damage. When you're out in the open and exposed and you're getting fire from multiple sides, this tank is very weak because you can't get into protective positions very quickly. See there, we come in and we clear. We can see again how slow I am. Now here's one of the moments in the game when the game is lost. I try to snap one into the RU-251, doesn't go through. If that had gone through, we would have won this game, I think, and you'll see why later on, because that RU is quite effective later on. So just a timeout there. That is one of the moments in the game where a game is lost. But you know, there's nothing you can do about it. I tried to clear him, missed. I didn't miss, actually hit him, it just didn't pen. Another day it would have gone through. But it's important to note, you know, hey, this is what happened in this game, because when you know why you lose a game, you're learning as well and you're getting better. Now I tried to snap one into the Tiger 2 again. That also is a point where we lost the game, because if that had penned that Tiger 2, we would have won the game. Now just slow that down there so you can see there, the tank does have decent gun handling. You wouldn't have made that shot with an IS-3, 6 or 5. The compatriots of this tank in the Russian line at tier 8. But with this tank you can make it. Now why we'll come back to in a second why I believe that we lost the game with those 2 shots. Now I'm down to the Kolobanov situation. Now I'm going to clear him in a second. I took one though for my troubles. Now there we go, this RU is coming in. If I had cleared him, I wouldn't have had so many problems. I would have been able to get better angling onto this Tiger. As it happens now, I have to clear off the RU, and by clearing that RU I actually expose myself to the Tiger, and I take a couple of hits. I get a bounce off the RU, but I take a hit from the Tiger. Now I'm going to clear the Yag Panther too. Now the problem that I have is if this wasn't a supremacy game, I believe I could have won it. But the problem is I didn't have time to side scrape and mess around with the Tiger because we were going to lose on points. So I kept having to come front onto him and face up to him, and then he kept penning me. I don't really have time for messing around here. I need to try to clear him because we're going to lose on points, right? And it's getting quite desperate in a second. Now he also knows that I have to come after him. So I was trying to draw him in here and get into a side scraping position, but the Tiger is a good player. He was using APCR as well to make sure he penned me every time. So he knew I had to come for him. Now I'm trying to get into a side scraping position again, but the Tiger knows he doesn't have to come. He's just waiting. He's waiting for me to come out because he knows I have to. Again, I'm trying to get into a side scraping position. You can see him under points pressure. I have to go for it. You may as well lose fighting for it as lose on points, right? So I just go for it. I thought maybe I might be able to bounce on him. See that 21 points. If that had cleared him, and then he goes back to what I said earlier. If that snapshot I'd taken on the Tiger earlier had gone through, then I would have been able to clear him and win that game. Nonetheless, still a mastery game. You can't win them all, and you know, I have to say I can't be disappointed with that game. I think I played really well. I did my best to carry the team. A couple of snapshots had come off. I think we would have won it, but nonetheless, you can't complain too much. Good game and a good demonstration of the strengths and the weaknesses of that KV-4. You can see here did a lot of damage on the enemy team. If we look here at the XP and then we look at the badges, Mastery Badge, Top Gun, High Caliber, and a Radley Walters medal, and almost a Kolobanov, almost, but not quite. As I said, a couple of those snapshots would come off, would have been a different game, but nonetheless, you have to play the hands you're dealt. So there we go. Pretty good game in the KV-4, and as I said, a demonstration of its strengths and weaknesses. Now let's have a quick recap. This is a really good heavy tank. It is a heavy. It really is quintessential heavy tank, and you should play it as such. It is play by the numbers in the heavy tank guide on channel. And also you need to side scrape, so get a refresher on that in that guide if you think you need it. And this tank is all about armor. It's basically a mobile castle. It moves around the map. It seizes strategic positions. Basically play for your team, try to anchor. You know, try to go there, seize that part of the map, and you will get bounces. This tank is very forgiving, and you'll get bounces you don't even play for. Steel wall medals are on their way for you in this tank for sure. But it is slow, very poor traverse, very poor power to weight ratio. It's just it's not gonna get around the map quickly, right? So don't get caught out in the open in it. Pay attention to the map, and pay attention to where the fast moving reds are, because you do not want to get isolated in this tank. You will die. As I said, it's best when it's facing onto the enemy, and when you have your back in cover. Use supercharged and refined gun to get the most out of that 107mm tier 9 gun. Get that top gun first, because the tank is slow anyway, so you're getting the additional chassis and engine is not going to make a huge difference, but the gun does. Gun handling is pretty good, and unlike other Russian tier 8 heavies, so just note that. And the shape and the length of the barrel adds to that. And the tank, as I said, is best facing the enemy, taking their shots, and be the pivot for your team, be the fulcrum for your team's strategy. This tank is very successful at this and very effective at this. And this really is its role. It is really the mobile castle moving to strategic points on the map. The music was Gustav Holst's Mars the Bringer of War, which I thought was quite apt for this tank and that piece of gameplay. So I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you found it useful, and I guess all that remains for me to say is cheers Mush, thanks for watching, and pants off.